All right, welcome into the basketball show as we get ready for the final weekend of the regular season. That's TK, little T, Taylor Corn, Jim Dunaway here with you. It is rivalry weekend. Alabama down at Neville to play the SEC champions Auburn. We will talk about that game coming up in a moment. We'll do a sneak peek a little bit of the SEC tournament next week in Nashville. We'll be there for that. We're looking forward to that. And we'll honor two of the greats here in a second. But first, let's start. We're coming off the Alabama loss to Florida, and we're getting ready for Alabama to roll into the next game. The first thing that shocked me today, and I've watched the games, but I was a little surprised when it dawned on me that Alabama had lost four of their last six games. I mean, I saw it happen. I saw them lose to Auburn and Missouri, and then I saw them win two games, and then I saw them lose to Tennessee and Florida. But when you put it like that, it it does seem like Alabama's playing better basketball than losers of four of six. But that's where we are. They've lost four of six. It sort of is weird right now to hear that about this Alabama team. To me, what about you?
I agree. It does not seem like four of the past six games that they've played have been losses. I agree with that. And it's weird. What's happening is weird. And I agree. Reese Davis earlier today on the next round talking to y'all said, we all know that this is a very good basketball team. It just seems like something's a little off. And I agree with that. Can I put my finger on what it is? No. If I could, then Nate Oats would be able to. But I agree. Just from a viewer's perspective, watching the game, it just seems like something's not clicking. What is that? The coaching staff's trying to find out.
Yeah, and there's a rating system out there. I forget which one it is. It's which one's the Bart Povlik or something like that. You know all these rating systems, but there's one of them out there that rates Alabama's defense since the Auburn loss 79th in the country, and I watch them and I think they're playing better defense until the second half last on Wednesday night against Florida. So I don't trust my eyes anymore. So I want to ask the question, and I'll let you throw a name out first or big picture this question for me. But is there an Alabama player that pops to mind right now for you that's I don't want to use the word slumping, just maybe not playing up to the potential we know he can play to? If I threw a name out there first, where would you go?
Grant Nelson.
Yeah,
I
good
don't know
call.
what's happening. I don't know what has happened. And he can get back to playing elite basketball because we've seen him do it. So, I don't know what if it's something mental or if he's just going through a little bit of a rut. But last night after the game on the reaction show, I talked about because he's a name that we've talked about for a couple weeks now as, what's going on with Grant Nelson. And something that I noticed yesterday or last night when they were playing Florida was at the beginning of the season, he was hitting 3-point shots. He was dangerous shooting from the perimeter, and he seems to be hesitating. Is it a confidence thing? It very well could be, but he has hit one 3-point shot in Alabama's last 7 games. I went and
Oh,
looked after we talked.
say that again.
He has hit Grant Nelson has one made 3-point shot in Alabama's last 7 basketball games. I noticed it last night because it looks like he would have a clean look, he would have an open look, and it would look like he was about to shoot, and then he would either put the ball down and start dribbling again or pass it. And passing is not always a bad thing. If you think that one of your teammates has a better opportunity to put points on the board, obviously you're not going to pass that up. But when he had clean looks, he looked like he was hesitating, and then he shot one. He attempted one 3-point shot last night, didn't hit it, and did not attempt another. So I don't know if it's a confidence thing or what, but he just does not look like himself at all to me.
Yeah, I mean, in his numbers, in the Florida loss, 10 points, 4 rebounds. In the Tennessee loss, 7 points, 12 rebounds. In the Missouri loss, 8 points, 3 rebounds. He was a 12 and 12 guy against Auburn. Even the two wins against against Mississippi State, he had 6.7 rebounds. And against Kentucky, he had 5 points, 3 rebounds. That's the guy that single handedly beat North Carolina in the Sweet 16 last year. I mean, he had a monster game to advance Alabama. He used to be such a dynamic offensive guy. I'm going to throw Chris Youngblood out there for you against teams not named Mississippi
Yeah.
State. He's fantastic against Mississippi State. Against Florida, 6 points, 1 rebound, no assist. Against Tennessee, 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. He was great against State in the win. He was good against Kentucky with 14. Against Missouri, 7 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Against Auburn, 8 points, 2 rebounds, 0 assists. Not a lot of assists, not a lot of rebounds, but not a lot of points either against people not named Mississippi State. CY's hit sort of a slump here too. So there's two starters that are not scoring or doing a lot offensively. Last 2 games, Mo Diabate for me against Florida, 1.4 rebounds. Didn't had no Mo Diabate had no impact on that Florida game at all when Alabama was getting killed on the boards. He was 8-6 against Tennessee. That's just not Mo D's style. He's usually a bigger impact guy, especially on the boards. And Cliff Omori, he had 11-7 against Florida. But when Alabama loses the rebound battle at home by 15, back doors open for the alley oop, it seemed like all night long. It was like Krispy Kreme. They were hot and fresh all night long on those backdoor dunks there. Those guys, and they can step up. We've seen it. Maybe it starts at Neville. Maybe it starts in Nashville. Maybe they wait until the NCAA tournament like they did last year. But a couple of slumping Crimson Tide players there, losers of 4 of 6 as they go play the number one team in the country in the SEC champs, Auburn, 1:30 on Saturday. We'll be there live post game afterwards on the basketball show. It was senior night midweek for Mark Sears. It is senior day for Johni Broome on Saturday. And I asked the guys on the next round what Mark Sears' legacy is at Alabama. So we'll come back to Sears because we've answered that, but I want to hear what you think of him. Johni Broome. When I say Johni Broome's legacy at Auburn basketball, and we know there's still a big postseason chapter to be written, but where's Johni Broome right now in your mind as an Auburn Tiger?
One of the all-time greats. I think when you look back on the season, because it's been a historic season in a number of different ways for Auburn, breaking program records, and then also nationally throughout the country in college basketball, Auburn has been doing incredible things. And I think this team will be one that's remembered for a very long time, talked about for a long time. And Johni Broome is, the leader of this team. He's been the star of this team all season. So, I mean, he is going to go down in history. People on Twitter, I mean, these aren't people that are legitimately a part of a conversation that would make this take place, but people are saying, but it's build the statue. When are you building the statue? Which I do not think we're there. And I think we've had that conversation on this show before. I'm not saying that needs to be happening right now, but I think that he will be one of those guys that is remembered. I'm not going to put him in the same category as Charles Barkley because he's now, his NBA career has also, propelled him onto this massive national stage. But I'm just going to read a list. I went back and started looking at his personal accomplishments because the team has been great this year. Johni Broome has been talked about by everyone that talks about college basketball at points throughout the season. But I started looking at his just individual accolades. So he's one of only 3 players in Auburn history to earn National Player of the Week honors. Denver Jones was the other one this season. Prior to that, Walker Kessler. The only active Division I player with 400 plus career blocks. Only Division I player with 200 career or 2,000 career points, 1,000 career rebounds, 400 career blocks. Second among active Division I players with 77 career double doubles. Only player to put up the stat line versus a Division I opponent this season, and only one of 2 players with the amount of points, rebounds, and assists in a game this century, which this stat line came from Georgia. He had 31 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. He has 41 double-doubles since arriving at Auburn. So this is not career because he played at Morehead State prior, which is the third most for any SEC player over the past 25 seasons. This is mind-blowing to me. This is the one that shocked me the most. He has 66 blocks this season, which is more than 25 Division I teams. And let's not forget that he sat 2 games and left 2 games early with injuries. And he's the leader of a team that is on a historic run.
Yeah.
So that is a CBS length receipt of accomplishments from this season for Johni Broome. And I mean, I let that speak for itself.
Yeah. I would ask you this. You can't take the SEC tournament championship away. They won that last year. Janai was a big part of that. They are SEC regular season champions this year. So that's 2 championship trophies already in his time at Auburn. But if the NCAA tournament doesn't go well, in his 2 years previously, they were out in the round of 32 and out in the round of 64. It does feel like to get to the statue level that they do need to make a little bit of a run, maybe not all the way to the Final Four, maybe not a national championship. Those are high expectations, but maybe a little bit of the run to get that going, right? Because there is a little bit left on the table from the resume, it seems to me.
No, I completely agree. I don't think that anyone needs to be laying the foundation for a statue to be built right now. But I think that just in the terms of Auburn fans in general, like that's how the fan base is looking at him right now.
Yeah,
They're saying build just
yeah,
in terms of the way the fan base looks at him. But yeah, I think if he ended up winning National Player of the Year, if Auburn ended up winning a national championship, then like maybe you could start having that conversation. But no, I don't think we're to that point right now. But just in terms of players that will be remembered, I think he will be very, very high on that list.
Oh, and I agree with that because I expect them to have a really good NCAA tournament, and so that would be the final notch in the belt for Janai Broome there. It I've 30 years. I've never covered anyone that's been in the National Player of the Year race before, like Janai Broome, and that speaks volumes, right? I mean, it's been a two-person race all year long, from before Christmas to here we are, almost to the NCAA tournament. It has been Broome and Flag all year long, and just being in the conversation, National Player of the Year, worst case scenario is going to be first team All American. So that's all you need to say. Consensus first team All American. There's only 5 of those guys, and maybe there's only 1 or 2 of them because not everybody will be consensus. Johni Broome will be on everybody's All American list on the first team, and that speaks volumes. That in itself is probably statue worthy. For Mark Sears, uh, in his first year at Alabama, now he wasn't the leading scorer on that team. Brandon Miller was, but he played his usual 35 plus minutes a game. They were SEC regular season champions, 16-2, SEC tournament champions, #1 overall seed. But then they got beat in the Sweet 16. But then Mark was even a bigger part of a team that went to the Final Four last year. And I think that's why, you know, they probably need to make a little bit of a run too, but just so that the ending isn't bad. But Mark Sears, as we've talked about a couple of times, will be fondly remembered. And for some, especially if they, make a Elite Eight, maybe another Final Four run, as one of the greatest, if not greatest, Alabama basketball player of all time. And I know you watched his senior day on Wednesday night, when you put into a nutshell Mark Sears' legacy at Alabama, do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think this season, especially the past 6 games that we've been talking about, fans, and I'm guilty of this as well, you have such short-term memory. So, you have that massive win over Mississippi State at home. And after that game, I think everyone's walking away saying this team is unbeatable. Then you lose a couple and this is the end of the world. And that's just a fan being a fan. That's no one likes to lose, no one likes to watch their team lose. But when we were looking at, a player that might be in a slump over the past few games, Mark Sears is averaging 28 points per game over Alabama's last 5 and has scored 30 plus in 3 of those 5. So
Right.
have they all gone as you would want in terms of the scoreboard at the end of the game? No. But aside from the couple games that he has just laid an egg, he has been extremely consistent for this team. And not, this team isn't struggling offensively. I know we just named guys that aren't hitting shots and stuff, but they're scoring 90 points. It seems almost every time that they step foot on the court. But he has been one of the consistent guys. And I think ever since the whole LSU second half, what's going on, I think he is putting forth so much effort, and Nate Oats has been praising him so much for his defensive effort, which is why he came back. I say all that to say, I hope that this 6 game stretch that hasn't been the best for Alabama doesn't blur the vision of how great, because he has been great throughout that stretch. He has been one
You,
of the few players that has been consistently great throughout that stretch. And I mean, I think that he will be remembered in the fans of Alabama eyes a lot like Johni Broome will be. I mean, the first Final Four, that in
right.
itself will, when you are a massive part of the reason that that team made it to its first ever Final Four, do no more and you'll be remembered for that.
Yeah, senior night in Tuscaloosa back on Wednesday. It'll happen Saturday afternoon down at Auburn, and Sears will be in the house for it on the visiting uniform as they honor Johni Broome and the other seniors. Some of those will be honored that may still come back next year with the changing rules in the NCAA. We will see how that all plays out. So let's talk about the game here on the basketball show, brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag, getting you ready for everything March Madness. Promo code next round. You can play all the Madness games right there at mybookie.ag. I just looked back earlier this afternoon as we were getting ready to do this at the 94-85 Auburn win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And I know they're about to play, and I don't know what Auburn will be favored in this game, but they're the number one overall seed in the tournament, and Alabama's destined to be a 2 seed now. So Auburn will be a heavy favorite in this game. But this is why stats are for losers. I went back and looked at the stats in a 9 point loss at home, and Alabama out rebounded Auburn. They had more fast break points. They didn't have a boatload of turnovers. I think they only had 7 in the game. They had a good assist. I mean, they missed 9 free throws, but Auburn missed more free throws than they did. On the stat sheet, I mean, honest to goodness, if you gave me Alabama has more rebounds than Auburn, more fast break points than Auburn, only 7 turnovers, I would take all those stats from the first game again on Saturday against Auburn down in Neville Arena because I think it'd all be worse. I think all these stats will be less than what it was last time in this game. So it's crazy that they lost by 9 on their home court to stats that were not that bad. It speaks to Auburn's volume, but looking back, I just don't think Alabama played that bad in the Auburn loss. I just think Auburn played better, and there's a good chance it'll happen again on Saturday. First blush, first thought about Alabama traveling to Neville to play Auburn on Saturday at 1:30.
My biggest question about the game is if Denver Jones is going to be playing or not. He obviously played a massive role in shutting down Alabama's guards when they played in Tuscaloosa earlier this season. Did not play at Texas A&M. No clue what his status is. Nothing, no major injury to where he's going to be, having surgery or anything like that. But I think it's just one of those pain tolerance things to where, is it worth putting him out there and then having a negative impact down the road or not? So I think that that's going to play a big role in this game. And we saw what it looks like without him defensively on Tuesday night when Alabama lost on the road at Texas A&M. And I think that there were other pieces of that loss that also impacted the outcome of the game. But I think that Denver Jones not being on the court played a role. Um,
It was bigger
there
than I thought it was going to be, little T. I told my Auburn buddies on the golf course earlier that day because we'd squeezed in 18 holes. I said, you know what's going to happen tonight, right? Like Tahad Pettiford's going to be forced to play 30 plus minutes and he is going to be a superstar at it. And you're going to wonder, man, why don't we play Tahad 30 more minutes? And then it didn't end up that way. Pettiford looked. I mean, I know he runs point when he's in there a lot, but he looked a little timid at some of his passes in that environment, having to run the offense totally. I did not think Auburn would miss Denver Jones as much as they did in that game. So that's really good, calling out Denver Jones' status is the first thing to look at.
I'm looking because when you were talking about the stats from last game, there was a statistic, an Auburn statistic that I am not remembering the numbers of, and I'm trying to find it real quick because I don't want to misspeak. But I'm pretty sure that prior to the loss at Texas A&M, Auburn. Oh wait, here we go. Here we go. When Auburn was 6-0 prior to the game on Tuesday night, when they were out rebounded in games, which I thought was very strange
Right.
because I don't know that seems off to me. But I remembered that stat being very one that stood out when you brought that up. But yeah, I think a lot of people's eyes were opened to how impactful Denver is after Tuesday night because the offense just didn't seem to run as smoothly. And I don't know, how much of that needs to be credited to defense, to the way that Texas A&M was playing defense, how much of that was missing Denver Jones running the offense. Who knows? But that, I mean, from the Alabama side of things, I mean, rebounding I think is effort a lot of the time. And then 50-50 balls are, sometimes you're just in the right place, other times effort. And were you kind of surprised that Nate Oats was calling out his team's effort after the loss last night? Because I didn't watch that game thinking these Alabama guys are not trying tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I was surprised, but he's done it so often this time of the year. He's challenged him in so many different ways, whether it's been benching players, not starting players, changing the lineup, cutting back minutes, calling them out. Everyone from Mark Sears to Mo Diabate and everybody in between at some point has been challenged
Right.
from Nate Oats. So it didn't surprise me, but I'm like you. I was watching. I was like, they're busting their ass, but they're just not getting any breaks. They're not finishing at the rim. They're missing balls, rattling in, rolling out. The ball's 50-50, so it's on the floor, so it's 50-50, but it seems to be rolling to the floor to players.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it. I didn't watch that team and say that, but I do know later on in the news conference, Nate said, I watched the team last year and that team quit near the end of the regular season, and this team's not doing that. So while he's challenging them for a little more effort, I do think he sees a positive sign in them. But he's rode this team hard all year long. So one more hard, you know, pat to the backside before you go play Auburn, and then it's off to the postseason where you may get harsh with them again in a post game news conference.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that's I don't I don't dislike him doing that, but the
Oh, I
reason I
know it.
brought
I
it up
didn't.
is just because
Yeah,
I
I,
didn't
I didn't.
I
I
didn't
didn't
think
think
they
you
were
were.
playing
I
with
didn't
the
think you
lack
were.
of effort.
I didn't think you were saying it as a negative. It was a good point that you watched the game like I did and thought, God, those guys are really still playing very hard.
Yes.
They're just getting beat at home and they're getting out rebounded at home. And I do think, like you said, the rebounding numbers sometimes are considered to be an effort thing, but there is some it bounces this way
Right.
kind of thing. The fast break points seem to bother him more than even the second chance points, which were 19-10, but 22 fast break points. I think that rubbed him in a way like, God, you got to get back. You got to get back on that. That's 22 points. That's 11 times they beat you down the floor.
Yeah, and my thought on that is if you're not great defensively to begin with, you're probably not going to be great when you have to play defense and the pace is sped up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or you're
And
caught
that's
in
a
transition.
great point.
So
Florida
it's
does
like,
play at a good pace. Yeah.
I don't know, but I think that defense is going to decide this game. Even in
So,
Alabama's losses, they haven't had a problem scoring. So
yep.
can they figure it out on defense? That's what we've been asking all season because, like you said, they had a season-tying low 6 turnovers versus Florida. And earlier this season, got to quit turning the ball over. Got to quit turning the ball over. But I mean, they had 6 turnovers last night. It boils the common denominator is defense
Yeah,
in my
you're
eyes.
right. You're right. And Auburn's the better defensive team. All the stats and the season and the record shows that. So we look forward to it. 1:30, Neville for Alabama on the way to Auburn for one more regular season game. Then in Nashville, where it could work out, sneak peek at the SEC tournament. If I have my bracket memorized correctly, and I know you've done a little bit more research on this, if in Alabama very much could be a 4 seed. So if Alabama ends up a 4 seed and Auburn ends up a 1 seed, and they both win on Friday, guess what we get again on Saturday? Another Alabama Auburn basketball game. So,
Yeah.
but on the flip side of that, if Alabama ends up as a 3 seed and they win on Friday, guess what we get on Saturday? Another Alabama Florida basketball
Yeah.
game. So it's damn if you do, damn if you don't for the Tide.
Yeah. So they are currently the 3 seed, like you said. They will fall to the 4 seed if they lose on Saturday and if Tennessee beats South Carolina. So if Auburn
Yeah,
loses and Tennessee wins, then they would have the same conference record. The tiebreaker is head to head. So Tennessee would jump them. They would be the 3 seed, but they will remain the 3 seed if if Alabama wins on Saturday. It doesn't matter what happens with Tennessee. Alabama's the
that's
3
right.
seed. If Alabama loses and Tennessee loses, Alabama remains the 3 seed. So an Auburn or a Alabama loss and a Tennessee loss is the only way that or a Tennessee win. An Alabama loss
Yep.
and a Tennessee win is the only way that Alabama would fall to a 4 seed.
Yeah. So, but double bye regardless, which means
Yes.
we'll be up there for Friday games. We'll get there Thursday. Probably get a little video of somebody walking off the court to send out on a social media platform at
Yeah.
Next Round Live. We love doing that. Check in, get our credentials, and be ready to go Friday. We'll be at Losers just off Broadway for our live show, 9 a.m. to 12 noon or 10 to noon, somewhere around there. We'll get you done at Losers. But for you Auburn fans, you'll have the first game on Friday. We'll be there live at Losers, which is a couple of blocks down the hill a bit from Bridgestone on Broadway. Come by, have a cocktail, hang out with us, the Yellow Few War Eagles, and then walk up the hill to watch Auburn play in the first SEC tournament game there in Nashville. And we'll have our typical post-game shows and videos throughout, running all week from the SEC tournament and then throughout the NCAA tournament. It's March. See, we've worked all season to get here. Now the good stuff, right?
I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is when all the coverage that we have provided this year. Really, that dream was born about a year ago in Nashville when we were covering the SEC tournament. We sort of started covering our basketball a little differently, and the basketball show was born. And so maybe we should get a cake and one candle, 1 year old.
Yeah. We
The
should
basketball show.
we
Blow it
should
out. Make a wish.
make a wish. I know
Yeah.
what your
Thank you.
wish will be.
Uh, uh, I think actually I'll save my wish for the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'll save that for the
Okay.
NCAA tournament, just in case we all meet again somewhere down the line.
You
I'm
never
not
know.
would not shock me if somehow the bracket ends up Alabama's got to play Florida or Auburn again.